Well, Friday finally threw everything at us. We thought it was true. We had faithfully followed and patiently waited, put up with some things that we'd humanly hated, but on Friday, we thought it had all fallen through. From town to town travelling, dust, dirt on our feet, it was worth it to wondrously wander those streets, to see perfect personified and sit at his feet. He brought freedom to those we would meet. Until Friday. And then, no heartbeat. That was the end of it. This started with a traitor's kiss, continued cat and nine-tails whips, cold, cruel, unsubtle jibes and spits, and crown of thorns atop the purple robe he wore. Soldiers terribly, tumultuously, tearing his frail full flesh strips forth, and never a second he fought. Then he carried a cross up the hill out the city to a place called Golgotha, and there perfection had died. And yet, Father, forgive, he had cried, but alas, what difference did it make now, and what of all his words to us in the past? And so what if mountains did shake and darkness fall and thunder roll as he breathed his last? What of the cross that he had once said we must carry in order to follow him? Was that mere metaphor, as we had thought, or would it now become quite real, pure unforgiving fear we could feel as the sheer stark reality hit smack in the face of our futile humanity in the worrying wake of this fragile fatality? He was dead. The fact of the matter was that. Saturday. Silence. Slow. So achingly angering steadiness of the most restless Sabbath we had ever known, this so-called Shabbat, resented now that as most meaningful morning set in. We thought this was the one, our king. Panic-stricken, grief now rising, we'd lost everything, and a funeral song we might sing. Until Sunday. Sunday. Oh, how can I speak of that day? What to say? Well, first, the women had gone down at dawn, bringing spices they'd prepared before. And as the first shaft of light fell on the edge of that tomb, it was confusion that shattered their gloom. That stone, so huge and monumental, somehow moved, so incidental that the Roman seal and steely soldiers hadn't seen this circumstance stopped. There was no way that grave could have been robbed. Nervously, cautiously, they entered in, frightful of what they would find, but the thing is, he wasn't there. But the thing is, there was something to wear. Folded grave clothes, strips of linen, cold, clean, casually sitting in the corner. The only thing of any financial value was the only thing left behind. What thief, they wondered, would be of that mind? Who would do that? And then suddenly, in a flash, in the blink of an eye, they appeared, two men wearing white, blinding bright, the darkness of the cave and the lady's despair, both illumined confusingly by their emanating light. Why do you search for the living among the dead? They rushed, they ran, they came and told us, breathless, faces red, sweat dripping immodestly from the head. Impossible, surely this was, surely not, and yet I had to see for myself. I rose and ran more urgently and purposefully than ever I previously had, not even knowing what I wanted to find, not ever slowing until I checked with these eyes of mine, and this much was true, he wasn't there. But the angels, they weren't anywhere. But the women seemed sure what they'd seen, and I marvelled at what might have been. Now holding all the hope and all the heartbreak equally, knowing if it was true then he surely would soon also appear to me. Well, later that day, they returned, weary travellers, they set out on their way, and I was seriously so surprised to see these trusted friends of mine back in the city so soon. And as the sun that day gave way to the moon, we mused as they told us the glorious news that they too had seen him risen from the dead. And then, as we spoke of that tomb, without warning, he entered the room through the walls, and waves of worship wondrously washed over, while the walls of my own doubt so thunderously came crashing all the way down. He was here in the flesh, in amongst us right now. I could see him, and he was alive, with the scars in his hands, feet and side, and the first word he uttered was peace. Oh, the awesome shock of beyond speech release of pure ecstatic emotion. I felt I could now cry oceans as passionate loyalty displaced the pain, and instead jubilant joy exploding in my chest and head. We had seen him, we knew he was dead, and yet here he was alive and well and asking to be fed. In person and word bringing peace, he smiled. Do you have something to eat? And he reminded us that all of these things had to happen in order to see the law and the prophets and the Psalms fulfilled. And he opened his arms as he opens our minds to understand Scripture, and he allowed us to find that our death he had died, and so we were forgiven. But from death and all sin bearing and grave clothes wearing, he had risen. I tried to take it in. Death couldn't hold him. And now he stood before me glorified. Death is beaten. Jesus is alive. So where, O death, is your victory? Where, O death, is your sting? One day finally all will be brought forth and put under his feet, everything, and every knee will bow and tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, eternal King. So where, O death, now is your victory? Where, O death, now is your sting? Death is beaten. He has risen. Jesus is alive.